Good morning, good morning, good morning. What do we have here? We have another small block Chevy OBS bill. And I'm going to go across everything that was done. I'm going to go across what I did to this vehicle. This is a customer's vehicle. And I've known this truck for about a year now. Another friend had it and he sold it to a customer, or he sold it to a neighbor down the road. So I'm gonna be going across the complete bill. I hope it don't take long. I don't want to get into deep, but if someone is trying to do a OBS bill, I want to kind of help them out. So, you'll see what parts you need, how to simplify it as much as possible and not spend a whole lot of money. I'm going to start with saying that the customer original block, the original block was pretty bad. The truck was running hot and it had a lot of rust in the cylinder. Okay. I could have bored it out, did a machine work to it. But it was best to go with a better block for what he wanted and the performance he wanted. It was best to go with another block, better pistons and everything else like that. So I will in part 2 do a bill sheet. But for now, if anybody got any questions or comments about what I use and things that I use, just hit me up. Just hit me up. So let's get started with the engine itself. This engine is a 010 block, high nickel block. It would have looked something like this. Okay. 4-bolt main. 4-bolt main block. And it was built by me. Pretty much you can see the blue that I have on it throughout. So I took the block, put 60 over pistons. 60 over pistons? Yeah, 60 over pistons. So this is actually a 388. It's not a 350. It's not a 377. It's not a 360. This is actually a 388. Okay? It's a 388. I have Eagle crank end rods in this block. Okay? 5.7 stroke. All right? So don't think it's something way out of the ordinary that would go into a truck like this. Moving along, it is a 4-bolt main, like I said before. The other block was. This is a 4-bolt main. This engine, bored out 60 over, 010 block, high nickel block. It'll take 60 over with no problem. So the displacement is there for the power. Moving right along, the heads on this are not the best heads. These are TBI heads, okay? They're brand new TBI heads. The camshaft in this is a 501 exhaust, 501 intake. Oh, TBI heads won't take a 501 lift. Oh, stop it. Have you ever tried it? Okay, Vortec heads that take a 500 lift with no problem as well. Okay, so we're going to get some flow going to this heads. Not the best. I'm not saying we're getting 350, 400 CFMs flowing through these heads. No, we're getting enough what we need to make the power. And 385 to 410 horsepower is what this will produce with no problem with the fueling system. When I say with the fueling system, I'm talking about this AVS2 carburetor. Okay, it's a 650 AVS2 carburetor, which is brand new. All right, so brand new carburetor. Now, I'm going to go across some of the modifications I did to this engine to make it work, because this is TBI heads. Okay, this is originally a TBI truck, and the wiring and everything was for a TBI. All right, so throttle body injection, in case you don't know what TBI is. This is it. I did modify a lot of it because I thought we was originally going with the TBI. So all that is shaved off. This is actually good. And that's the plate down to the bottom for a 4-barrel intake. Okay. But this intake that I have on here, I did not drill any holes on the side like people normally say. This intake is an RPM Performer intake, and it fits right up to the TBI heads. Okay. Now I'm gonna throw you in the air for a second. I'm gonna show you another RPM Performer intake that would fit. Well, that's the TBI intake that came off, okay? I don't know what I did with it. This is a torque converter that came off of it. I'll get to that. And, you know, the valve train, you know, oil pan gasket that came off the original and some of the exhaust. And, you know, that's the TBI stuff that I took off. That's the TBI radiator. I mean, that's the stock radiator. Which, if you're going to increase the horsepower and you're going to put 60 over pistons on a vehicle, do not go with the standard coolant. You can't put the standard coolant on there. It's not enough flowing through the engine to keep it cool. Don't put 30 over or 40 over pistons in a bill and say, well, it's heating up. Of course it's heating up. Because the radiator that you put in there wasn't made for 60 or 40 over pistons. You might get away with a 30 over pistons, but you must upgrade your cooling system. Period. If you don't upgrade your cooling system, you're going to have problems. There's no way around it. No way around it. So let's go through some of the electrical part, then I get back to the cooling. Okay, do you see right here? Let me try to get you in closer. Get you a little bit closer than that. Get you upside down, I guess. Other hand. Okay. You see the yellow wire? The yellow wire on the distributor. That wire is going to two things. One, it's going to the tax signal that comes out of the truck from the gauge in a computer. And two, it's going over to the purple wire with a white stripe on it down there. It's going to that. The purple and white wire that it's going to, it normally plugs into the stock distributor. Okay? That wire does send to the computer a signal to keep the fuel pump running. When you convert this, you must use that purple wire with a white stripe in it. The wire over here, which you see a little bit farther down, that's the yellow wire is going to the tax signal in the truck. Okay? Now look at the blue wire. It has a red wire coming out of it, but the blue with the red wire coming out of it, that is your key ignition power. That's powering up this HEI distributor. Okay? You must have that. Key turned on, it has power to it. Key turned off, it doesn't have any power to it. You must have that. If you have those two components, those three wires I was just telling you about, you will get fired to the distributor. Now, if you got a Vortec engine, HEI distributor should be fine. Should be fine. A lot of people say, oh, no, you got to get... No, it should be fine. No, let me take that back. If you have a Vortec engine, you're going to have to get another distributor gear onto the end because the roller setup is not going to match. But if you have a regular TBI or a small block Chevy that you're putting in here, it should be fine. Just a regular HEI distributor gear and everything else should be fine. Okay, so back into it. You must have a fuel regulator. The reason why you must have a fuel regulator is because these TBI engines put out anywhere between 9 and 14 PSI. 9 on the low end, the fuel pump's getting weak. I did not take the fuel pump out. The original fuel pump, the original switch to turn the fuel pump, all that is still on. All I did was the 2 leads you have coming in to the TBI, the fuel coming into it, it's the bigger one. It's the bigger hose. That is the fuel coming into. The smaller one is the return line. You see right here, this fuel regulator down to the very bottom. Point if I can. That's the fuel coming in. Fuel goes out and comes to the carburetor here into the carburetor. I have a gauge on here as well. What you must, I'm not going to say you should, you must get a fuel pressure gauge so you'll know what's going into the carburetor. 4 PSI may be okay. I like to run 5.5 PSI if you have a performance engine. Sometimes even 6. But Elderbrock's do fine on 5. 5.5 is, a little too much. 6 is great, I think. But anything over that, you push straight through the seed and you'll flood out your engine. And that's not something you want to do, changing the plugs. This line right here, this is the return line. Going back to the tank. Why did I do it and why must you do it? If you don't do it this way, in the summertime, you will have vapor lock. You need to keep the fuel cool as possible at all times. So when the fuel comes in, what's not used, it needs to go back and return. Listen, people, you can do it the way you want to do it. But if that fuel is not returning to the tank and it's sitting on top of this engine or anywhere around the headers, it's going to fuel up and you're going to get air in the system. And when you mash the gas, it's going and then it's going to shut off and it ain't going to crank up for a while. And you're going to wonder why. Why? Because you got air in the lines and the fuel got to cool down. When the fuel cools down, you crank it up and it'll drive a little bit farther. Then it'll do the same damn thing. So to prevent all that, put a return line on it. If you got a fuel pump and it's pushing, it'll keep the fuel kind of cool because it's constantly pushing. If you try to run off the block like some people do and put a regular fuel pump on the block, well, guess where that block is at? And guess where that fuel pump is at? Yeah, on a heat source. And it's heating up that damn fuel inside that fuel pump. So you're going to have some problems when you do aftermarket stuff. So please, put a fuel regulator on it. Now, this DUI performance distributor, I chose to neglect to go to a more fiery, ignition. Due to the customer demands, we're trying to stay within budget. So I don't have an MSD ignition system on here. But this would be good enough fire tire for what he's trying to do. He's pulling a trailer and he just wants some more performance. Some of the stuff I did keep the regular, TBI, PCV valve on here. If you look at the regular TBI, PCV goes here and then it goes into the intake. It goes into the throttle body, but this is going into the carburetor. So I was able to keep that, to keep costs down from buying or modifying anything. He still has AC. The AC still works in this truck. The alternator, everything is still hooked up. Still got to finish that up. All his gauges will work. All his gauges will work. Now, when you do this swap, expect your engine light to come on because as you see, or you haven't seen, some of the wires are covered and some of them are deleted. The EGR wires are deleted. The other wires that are still here, fuel temperature sensor. My grounds are still here. Coolant temperature sensor. I did elect to go to a bigger one, and I'm going to have to change the head on that, but it will read right inside the car on the dash, the truck on the dash. All right, now these wires are bungled up here, and I just got them, zip tied together to keep them off the headers. I haven't did a first start on this, but doing this so many times, I kind of know where the distributor needs to be at, especially with 60 over. And being advanced, I got to still do the timing and whatnot. But to crank it, it shouldn't turn over no more than five or six times most of the time. But if you have the distributor, pretty much I know where to put it at. Look at the back of the valve cover, look at the distributor. It's pretty much gonna crank every time, within 5 or 6 turnovers. Sometimes I get it to turn over and crank the first time. Put new plugs in. Don't put old plugs in a new bill. I see people do that. Come on, man. Don't even clean them. Don't be that cheap. Just put new plugs in there. I did elect to give him some good chrome valve covers, so when he have the chrome breather up top, it'll make the engine bay look a little nice. I did flat black paint some of the engine bay. It did have some rust on it, so I got some Rust-Oleum primer that covers rust because I can't sand it all down. A little bit there still I need to address, but before he gets it back, all that'll be covered. So it won't be any rust showing. It'll be some chrome headers. I did try to go with long tube headers that didn't go in this truck, but I was going to try to make it work to save money. These are stainless headers. Yeah, it was $600. I tried to massage them a little bit, as you can see, to make them work. Not enough massaging in the world, so I got some new shorty headers coming that I'm going to put on here that are stainless. I tried to only go with stainless headers. You go with the regular ones, they just rust out so bad, and you don't get a year or two and they leaking bad. I just don't. Okay. Now all his accessory pulleys and whatnot, I painted them. Like I said, I put Rust-Oleum paint on them. Last for a long time, but I did sand them down. I did put primer on them so they'll last a good long time. Most of you guys know how an engine looks. That's a TBI. This is a 92 model, so you could imagine how it did look. The headers, like I said, are coming. I got the factory headers on it just to do the test run. I did clean up the engine bay a little bit on the firewall and whatnot. Put a couple of Ellerbrock stickers and whatnot on it. As you can see, it's the water jug. I did clean up things a lot. I don't like to just send out trashy work like I didn't care. So I got these blankets over here, not really to cover the paint, but to cover my ribs when I bend over. Metal, the ribs don't add up. It hurts. So bending over a long period of time, it hurts. I did elect to give him a chrome timing cover. Can't really see it there, and I did elect to give him a chrome oil pan. Just some of the things I had. Just wanted to make the customer happy. Let me see if I can get a shot of that chrome oil pan. I don't know if I can or can't, if it's showing. And I did clean up some of the wires. TBI got a lot of wires hanging around, so that's why you don't see a lot of wires, just the ignition wire. Now, question most of you would have: what about the O2 sensor and the headers? This wire here bums to the O2 sensor for the headers, okay? I would say you don't have to use it, but I would use it. And let me tell you why. I will use that O2 sensor. It feeds up inside the truck, and put an AFR gauge, okay? Put an AFR gauge on it so you can have the timing more efficient. This is all, the computer normally does the timing and the tune. Now I'm tuning it with this distributor and this carburetor. All the gauges will work, like I said, once again. The engine light will be on. You got two choices. One, you can go in with the computer and cut it off. Or two, you can pull the dash, which don't take 20, 30 minutes, and pull the bulb out of the engine light. Okay? And all your stuff will be up here. Now, the sensors that you have, if you want, if the engine runs out of coolant or low on oil, that is still going to work. Let me show you why. The oil sensor is right here. Okay? Let's see if I can show it to you guys. Maybe, maybe not. Let's get up back here. Get it back here, girl. Come on, girl. Okay. The oil sensor is still here. That's the oil sensor right there. Still plugged in. If you run low on oil or have low oil pressure, it's going to show on a dash and the engine light will come on. And like I said, the coolant temperature sensor is here. Now, let's get to the cooling system, okay? Let's come across here. This is the cooling system. This is a 4-core radiator. This radiator is not a stock radiator. It's not a radiator that you can buy for this vehicle. Let me tell you what this radiator comes out of. This radiator is for a 1978 to 81 Chevrolet Camaro. It's an aftermarket radiator upgrade with dual cooling fans. The capacity of this is, with this whole system, is well over 5.5 gallons. You might can squeeze 6 gallons. Now, the stock radiator probably don't hold 3. So this is what I'm telling you about. If you're going to go 30 over, 40 over, 60 over, you must upgrade the cooling system. This is a big radiator. How did I get it in there? How and why? Why is to make sure, because this is 60 over, that I don't have any cooling issues. I'm not going to go with the regular stock TBI fan here and with the Schrader. I'm not going to do that. That's stupid. Don't be stupid and think that you can put a bigger engine into a vehicle and it's going to cool the same. It's not. Upgrade your water pump to a high flow water pump. Your thermostat, and I'm going across this telling you guys after bills why your shit is heating up. Don't be a dummy. Don't put your stock radiator back in and you upgraded your compression. Don't put your stock thermostat back in and you upgraded your compression and horsepower. Even at idle, you're going to run at a higher temperature. So this is what you do. Like I said, this radiator, as you see, it's big. Look at that. It's big from here to here. If you know what the stock one looks like, here to here. That's what I did, okay? I recessed and cut a little back, okay? So the radiator can slide in. This radiator isn't going anywhere. Look, I'm shaking a whole truck, and I'm going to tell you how I put it in here, okay? When you cut the regular, when you take the regular radiator out, down to the bottom here, there's a spot where the radiator sits on. You got to cut that piece out, okay? This is all custom shit, okay? You got to cut it out. Now, you see the frame right there? You see the frame right there? The radiator is sitting on the frame. No, it's not sitting on the frame. The radiator is sitting on rubber. These are spacers for the spring. I like to use them because they last a lifetime. I normally cut these in half, zip, and I put them on the frame and I glue them with the window glue, not the other silicone or other cheap glue, the window glue. It's not going nowhere, okay? So this is what the radiator sits on. The back side of the radiator, it sits on cushion. If you see right here, this will last for a lifetime. So the radiator is not touching anything, okay? It's in the air. You don't want this aluminum radiator touching any type of metal. Over a period of time, it's going to rub out and rub a hole into your radiator. So you got to do some preventative stuff so it lasts. This is a big radiator. I'm going to show you. It's 4-core radiator. Take the cap off real quick. Let me get in here. I'll see if you can see in there. This is a 4-core radiator. I need to shine some light in there. 4-core radiator. Don't upgrade your bill and put a 2 or 3-core radiator in it and you got 60 over pistons. You will heat up, okay? 4-core radiator. Let me see if I can. Do you see that a little bit better? 4-core. Look over there in the corner. 1, 2, 3. 4-core radiator, okay? It's a 4-core radiator, aluminum. It keeps it cool. You can stay in traffic and idle all day. You're not going to get over 160 degrees. And yes, I run a 160-degree thermostat in this. And let me tell you what I did. So this thermostat, going back to it, is a 160-degree thermostat. I've drilled 2 to 3 holes on the side of the thermostat, and I set it in here. Now, that's going to not only keep the water slowed down, but it's going to allow water to constantly flow in the block. Not fast, so fast that the radiator can't cool it down. It's not going to do that. So while you're sitting and idling and the fans are going on, it's going to cool that water down and push it in. Also, it has the recess for you to run your transmission lines as well. Here and there. And to the water jug. This line. And for the heating. We have heat inside this. So the AC and heat he wanted to keep and I wanted to keep for him. So it does work. This one comes here and go to the radiator. And this one goes here to the block. It's a little tight, but it's great. So I'm getting on 30 minutes. I'm about to sum this video up. I'm going to do a cold start on it. I know y'all have been waiting for that. I'm going to do a cold start on it real quick. And we're going to see how he runs. So let me see if I can set this camera somewhere where doesn't really affect this engine that bad. Yeah. I don't want it to fall. And this is going to be the cold start on this 388 small block converted. All right. Like I said, it may take 4 or 5 turns. It may take 1 or 2. I got the timing set just about right. And we'll listen to it, do a quick rev up, and we'll check and see if the water is flowing the correct way, because this is the customer water pump, and I want to make sure that this water pump was the right one, because there are 2 different water pumps you can use. One is for the Serpentine, which is a reverse water pump, and one is for the 2 or 3 belts, which if you go to the parts store and you get the wrong water pump, it will not flow right and you have heating issues. So here we go. First start up. Let's see if I set everything right. So far, so good. And this is the wrong water pump. This is the wrong water pump that this customer put on here. The water is not flowing like it should. If you see the water is coming out of the block, the water should be coming out of the radiator. This is the wrong water pump, so I'm gonna have to change it. Let's do a quick rev up and warm it up. But sounds pretty healthy. Alright, I'm gonna end this video, and not as much smoke as I thought it would be, but I'm gonna end this video and try to tune this truck up, and I'm going to have to get another water pump because it's not the right water pump. The customer bought it. You look over here, that's 3 PSI. I'm going to have to increase the fuel pressure as well Want to get around about 5. So other than that, everything seems to be running okay. Header suck. I'll do part 2, and part 2 I have the headers on and everything together, and we'll see how it does. But sounds pretty solid for the first crank up. Healthy. Healthy. All right. Peace.